Welcome everyone. Today we'll be checking out Deadcraft, one of the latest additions to the PlayStation Plus Extra catalog. Make sure to subscribe for more updates on the most recent offerings on PlayStation Plus. Let's get to it. Deadcraft combines crafting, combat, and zombie hunting to create a one-of-a-kind experience, but is it worth playing? HM. Don't expect wholesomeness in this writing. Lunacy takes the lead, and there's a lot of F-bombs. Deadcraft does an okay job showing the roughness of the post-apocalyptic world. The premise isn't original, but the lore is well developed with fascinating details. However, the pacing is too quick and the narrative feels half-baked with too much ambiguity. The characters are doing slightly better. Their presentation can be compared to a mix of Borderlands and Dead Rising. Like the former, there's a roughness with a good amount of crudeness. On the other hand, the humor in the latter is firmly rooted in how completely crazy it is. I liked how each of the main NPCs has a unique personality. It sets them apart enough to avoid being boring, although I only liked 1 out of 3, which isn't great. In the first village you visit, there's a man. He's pretty generic in terms of behavior, but at least he's somewhat charming. As he starts to open up, he tells a pleasant story, heartbreak, anger, and a thirst for revenge. The problem is, the fast pacing makes the revelations a lot less impactful. It rushes through important details at a rapid pace without much exploration. It's incomplete. The last of the 3 highlighted NPCs you encounter seems rushed. His character lacks development, and attempts at shock and awe feel haphazardly thrown in. However, he still maintains his individuality, a strength of Deadcraft as mentioned before. The true standout is the second NPC you meet, a girl named Jessie who bears a resemblance to Tiny Tina in demeanor. She's an unhinged stalker who fits the yonder anime archetype perfectly. Her obsessive love can take a dark turn towards dismemberment. What drew me to her was not a detailed backstory, but her consistently deranged behavior. Despite her innocence, her quips reveal a twisted side to her character. So far, I've talked about the supporting characters, but let's not forget the playable character Reed. He's a straightforward, no-nonsense guy who is not interested in making friends unless there's something to gain. My only issue with him is that his reactions, especially towards Jessie's craziness, feel stiff. While it's understandable to maintain his distant persona, it shouldn't come at the cost of making him one-dimensional. This is a common issue in Deadcraft. While each character is unique, Jessie and the first NPC lack a bit of variety. The influence of Dead Rising is evident in the villains you encounter, each with their own twisted ideologies and outlandish mannerisms. I find it difficult to express my thoughts on the gameplay. Even now I struggle because the truth is, this game is a blast. After my first few hours in the world, I was smiling. However, my complaints started to rise as I made progress. There are some strange decisions that seem to be holding Deadcraft back from reaching its full potential. What's especially frustrating is that these choices seem to only exist to artificially prolong the game. If they were addressed quickly, it would expose the potential that I know is here. In terms of specifics, the game has a wanted system that adds excitement to the gameplay. Increasing notoriety attracts nearby fighters to your position, making it inevitable to be rushed. Escaping is often the best move, but the waiting time to reset is agonizingly slow. I've spent countless instances aimlessly going in circles, waiting for the meter to reset. With 4 tiers to the meter, the waiting adds up and becomes excruciating to sit through. With all that being said, I believe most people would choose not to attack innocent civilians recklessly. While you could do that, it's actually more advantageous to plunder the innocent and cause chaos. You won't just be growing crops. You can also cultivate dead bodies and recruit them as allies. It's best to work on that green thumb. An interesting detail to note is that using a blunt object is ideal for obtaining intact corpses, as using a bladed one may result in dismemberment. Both types of corpses have their own uses in crafting recipes. There are ways to kill humans without upsetting the locals, but it limits your options for allies. I had a lot of fun with this feature, especially once customization was introduced. Of course, as they say, Deadcraft takes 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Side quests are the main way to gather materials, money, and skill points. It's nothing new, but the problem lies in the redundancy. Since you can only take on 1 side quest at a time, it becomes a huge time sink. It's a tedious process of fetching items, talking to specific NPCs, and reaching objectives, only to be misled and sent back and forth. The slow movement speed makes it even more frustrating, overshadowing any enjoyment from the game. The storage system in Deadcraft is a mix of great and incredibly frustrating. One of the best things about it is that it's universally accessible, making crafting a lot easier without having to constantly run back and forth. However, the fact that there's only one storage unit in the entire game is a major downside. It's annoying to have to fast travel back home just to get what you need and then return to where you were. It feels like the game doesn't respect the player's time at all. This setup made me want to skip side quests altogether at one point. The limited stock in stores is another issue that artificially prolongs gameplay. I get the idea of making it realistic by having a set inventory, but the selection is so small. I understand the need to grind, but waiting for restocks takes too long. The worst part is the timers on machines like the pacemaker. It feels like something out of a free-to-play mobile game. Sleeping to speed things up helps, but it's the principle of the matter. Everything else is instant, so why not this? Reed is quite the unique character, being a halfling, a mix of zombie and human. His arm has a noticeable deformity that can cause a lot of damage to enemies. However, using this power comes with a catch. It's a risk and reward system. In Deadcraft, you have the choice to embrace either the undead side or humanity. Certain actions are linked to each, like eating fruit or drinking water benefiting humanity, while consuming zombie blood is harmful. It adds an interesting layer of strategy due to the balancing act. My only concern is that it's too easy to avoid any negative consequences by being proactive, making everything I've mentioned pointless. In some farm simulators, there's a hunger and thirst gauge. When Jesse's off screen, a drink can satisfy thirst. To keep them healthy, going to bed with a full stomach and bladder provides more health and energy for the next day. Cooking won't be too difficult, just plant seeds and harvest tasty veggies. You might even get extra seeds to plant again. It creates a nice cycle of giving and taking, which does help with the stock issue mentioned earlier, but only a bit. It's clear that the problems can be fixed by adjusting the values, but for now, Deadcraft remains time-consuming. I was pleasantly surprised by the addition of a skill tree. While some may find it tedious due to the grinding involved, it actually adds depth to the game. Deadcraft may demand a lot of time in the wastelands, but it compensates by being generous with skill points. These points unlock various branches, offering new abilities like increased hunger tolerance and better loot when scavenging. Earning them is not difficult, as simple tasks like watering crops or breaking objects yield a small amount. Although the rewards may seem insignificant individually, they accumulate quickly due to the abundance of opportunities in the game world. As I continue to discuss this game, I want to emphasize that despite some flaws, it is not as bad as some may claim. I'm really impressed by the visuals. At first glance, it seems to be inspired by the Borderlands style. The textures may not be flawless, but I think the top-down camera angle actually works well. The colors really pop when interacting with NPCs. The perspective suddenly shifts to third person, revealing some lackluster details. Despite that, I can still easily identify objects. The flame animation is particularly impressive. However, I do wish for more vibrancy and sharper visuals, but maybe that's intentional in this dystopian setting. I did notice some odd shading on characters. While most of the positioning is accurate, there are a few random blotches upon closer inspection. The voice acting in Deadcraft is reminiscent of early-era titles, with audio only tied to crucial dialogue. My opinion of the performance quality is mixed, as Reed's stoic and no-nonsense tone felt stilted, although it reflects his hardened attitude. On the other hand, Jessie's performance excels, perfectly capturing her chaotic nature. The music, while not overly memorable, blends into the background and doesn't distract from the gameplay. The graphical fidelity also bears a similarity to Borderlands, and it's disappointing that the heavy guitar from the title screen wasn't used further for other tracks. Deadcraft brings together a mix of inspirations to form something unique. The exciting ideas and mechanics promise a fun experience, although some strange decisions can slow things down. The inventory system, with items capped at different numbers, is particularly puzzling. Despite some dialogue jitteriness, the game is worth playing, but only if you wait for a sale or for free as now with PlayStation Extra. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and see you tomorrow.